Number 8 gave us one of the most romantic slow burns ever, with a single glove removal scene that outdid most sex scenes. And number 2's got enemies to lovers chemistry so intense, you'll wonder if the actors fell in love for real. This 2004 miniseries is BBC period drama at its absolute peak. North and South follows Margaret Hale, a southern woman adjusting to the industrial north of England after her family relocates to Milton. It's the ultimate slow burn romance, restrained, intense, and ridiculously satisfying. The chemistry between Margaret, Daniela Denby-Ashe, and John Thornton, Richard Armitage, is off the charts, thanks in no small part to Armitage's brooding, magnetic performance. If you haven't seen it, make time. For something a bit different, Midnight at the Pera Palace is a Turkish historical drama on Netflix that'll have you hooked from the first episode. Set in a historic Istanbul hotel, it follows a journalist, Ezra, who's thrown back in time and ends up in the middle of a conspiracy that could change the future of modern Turkey. The romance is a sizzling enemies to lovers slow burn between Ezra and Halit that's practically combustible. Whether you watch it dubbed or with subtitles, the chemistry alone is worth it. And Halit might just be one of the sexiest period drama leads out there. This Showtime series is as scandalous as it is stunning. The Borgias tells the story of Rodrigo Borgia, Jeremy Irons, who schemes his way to the papacy while using his children as pawns to control Italy. It's deliciously soapy and packed with incredible performances, but the chemistry between Cesare, Francois Arnault, and Lucrezia, Holiday Granger, steals the show. Controversial, yes, but undeniably electric. Granger in particular is mesmerizing, holding her own and even outshining Irons at times. It's a must-watch, but fair warning. It's not for the faint of heart, so check the trigger warnings first. Jonathan Rhys-Meyers as King Henry VIII and Natalie Dormer as Anne Boleyn's chemistry was absolutely electric. It's not hard to see why this series had us hooked. It's dramatic, scandalous, and completely over the top. Sure, they took liberties with history, like erasing Margaret Tudor and calling Mary Tudor Margaret, and the costumes were historically inaccurate, mixing two different eras. But who cares when it's this entertaining? Plus, you've got Henry Cavill and Sam Neill rounding out the cast. It's cheesy, it's rewatchable, and it's everything you want from a soapy period drama. Speaking of irresistible chemistry, Rebecca Ferguson and Max Irons in The White Queen are on another level. This series dives into the ruthless power struggles of 15th century England, with queens scheming their way to the throne. It's full of betrayal, romance, and just the right amount of bloodshed to keep things historically accurate. Sure, there are some liberties taken with history, but it's hard to care when the pacing is tight, the characters are layered, and the costumes are absolutely spot on. Jenna Coleman and Tom Hughes as Queen Victoria and Prince Albert are perfection. Their chemistry doesn't just feel real, it actually was real. The two actors started dating during filming and were together for years, which absolutely comes through on screen. Victoria follows the Queen's early years on the throne and her relationship with Albert, balancing politics and romance beautifully. It's not quite Downton Abbey or The Crown, but it's one of the most charming period dramas out there. Plus, Tom Hughes as Albert is just chef's kiss. If you've been sleeping on Miss Scarlet and the Duke, it's time to wake up. This Victorian-era mystery follows Eliza Scarlet, a bold female detective, and William Wellington, her childhood friend turned Scotland Yard detective. Their slow burn, will they, won't they dynamic will have you screaming at the screen, "Just kiss already!" The show nails the Victorian vibes with its cobblestone streets, dimly lit pubs, and clever whodunits. And yet PBS barely promotes it. With 4 seasons out and a 5th on the way, this series deserves so much more attention. If you want pure, unfiltered tension, look no further than The Age of Innocence. Daniel Day-Lewis and Michelle Pfeiffer bring an intensity that's hard to match, with their love story unfolding in whispers and stolen glances. There's one scene where he unbuttons her glove, and it's somehow more sensual than most full-blown love scenes. Directed by Martin Scorsese, this film is devastating, beautiful, and one of his most underrated works. For Jane Eyre adaptations, the 2006 miniseries with Ruth Wilson and Toby Stephens is the one to beat. Their chemistry is off the charts, making the relationship between Jane and Rochester feel not just believable, but genuinely fun and tender. This version stays faithful to the novel while adding just enough modern touches to keep things fresh. It's the kind of adaptation that gets better every time you watch it. Carey Mulligan and Matthias Schoenaerts bring all the slow-burn, quarrelsome chemistry you could want in Far from the Madding Crowd. This is a story about love, mistakes, and societal expectations, set against the gorgeous backdrop of the British countryside. It's a nuanced, beautifully shot film that dives deep into the complexities of relationships. Not everyone loves it, some find it polarizing, but for fans of slow-burn romance and stunning period settings, it's an absolute must-watch.